I know that many students and teachers and other people, communities are really interested in monarchs and they really want to help. So what are the biggest threats to monarchs?
Well, you know, we're facing a lot of threats to monarchs as we're facing a lot of threats to other wildlife, and the loss of habitat's a big one. We're losing 6,000 acres a day in this country just due to development. There are lots of changes in agriculture that have had severe effects on wildlife and particularly monarch butterflies. So in order to deal with all of these changes that are going on in this country, what we've instituted is what we call a Monarch Way Station program, which is encouraging people to create habitats for monarch butterflies, to bring milkweeds into their gardens, to bring nectar plants into their gardens, because what's happening with the result of all of the development that's going on is that the places where monarch butterflies can live and lay eggs and raise, you know, the caterpillars, they're getting to be greater and greater distances between those locations. And so we want to fill in a lot of the gaps. We want to have monarch way stations in as many places as we can. And so we're encouraging people all over the country to grow milkweed in their gardens. We're also going to get involved in big restoration projects where we're going to try to involve departments of transportation around the country to get them involved in restoring roadsides with pollinator-friendly habitats, particularly monarch-friendly habitats, so that we have a lot more habitat out there for monarch butterflies. So that's the one thing we need to do. And the other thing that we need to do down in Mexico is that we need to plant trees. Mm-hmm. We really need to plant trees. In fact, all over the world, we really need to plant trees because we're faced with climate change, and certainly one of the ways to deal with climate change is to grow a lot of vegetation, to pull out that carbon out of the air, to create sort of what they call a carbon sink. And the best way to do that is fast-growing trees. And in Mexico, we have a lot of opportunity to have some very fast-growing pine trees that we could plant in those areas where the monarchs overwinter. And we have to compensate for a lot of the deforestation that's taken place down there.
Well, that's great. So we can incorporate way stations, monarch way stations that provide habitat, so that's food, water, shelter, and space.
Right.
Yes, and we can all plant trees, so we can all do our part.